Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And we always love new shows here on Hilaal TV. And we are just 28 days away from that 2024 elections. My name is Faraz Patel. We thank you so much for joining us here. Welcome to our brand new show called Elections 2024, My Vote, My Choice. It's a show that we're going to be dedicating every Monday to Friday, previewing different political parties and independent candidates that will be contesting during this year's elections. Of course, we'll not only be limited to the politicians, but we'll also be inviting think tanks, civil society to give their views ahead of the elections. So we'd like to welcome my first guest. Of course, Jama-ah, they've been around for the last 15 years, of course, through its leader, Ghanif Hendricks. They've had two mayors, a current one that is sitting in the city of Johannesburg, and they've made waves across various municipalities and metros across the country. So I'd like to welcome my first guest here for Elections 2024. He's no stranger to the city of Johannesburg and Gauteng. He's the provincial chairperson of Jama-ah and the premier candidate for Gauteng, Thapelo Amad. Thapelo, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah so much for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, and thanks to the viewers at home.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Thapelo, of course, 15 years. Jama-ah has their seats within the National Assembly. Provincially, they're, of course, making waves. But 2024 elections, where does Jama-ah see itself heading into, the space?
2024. Let me greet again, and first let me acknowledge what's the theme? Your vote.
My vote, my choice. Yeah.
My vote, my choice. Yes, it's very imperative to augment and also reiterate my vote, my choice. We want to augment first by saying Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ula an ra'iyatihi." So each one of you is a shepherd, and each one of you is responsible for the flocks that you are leading or that you are guiding. So that responsibility comes first with you. You are a shepherd to your own well-being first. And then secondly, it's the larger community that you are leading as a leader of the society. So it further goes and says the servant is a shepherd to what the master's belonging, and the wife is a shepherd to the belongings of the husband. And furthermore, it goes further. So it's also important for us to augment from the Islamic principle, the choices that we need to make as human beings, because it's our equal responsibility. And that vote in particular, the one when we go after the 29th or on the 29th, when you go to the ballot, you're still a shepherd of your vote and your choice when you get there. So Jama-ah, remember, we are 17 years, and we are contesting the levers of power like any other political organization. And the motive, why do we want to be there? We want to be the voice, and a formidable voice, and a vehicle that the constituency or the electorate will use to advocate certain dissatisfaction or certain frustrations out there, So this is where we want to position ourselves and expand our footprint solely for the voters or the people that we represent or the people that we're leading as the shepherds, and we want to urge each and everyone who's going out there on the 29th to be responsible on how do they vote and where do they cast their X.
Thapelo, you're no stranger to coalition governments. Of course, when you were the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, it was run through a coalition. There are many fears that when we look at it from a national perspective, how is it going to function? In the next segment, I'm going to touch on, of course, your candidacy for the premier. What is the future coalition-wise from a national perspective? Fear or hope?
It's hope. It's hope in a sense that we need to reduce the ANC. The ANC has done a lot of injustices. Let me just cite a wise man who says an indigenous community has the hunter, right? This hunter, the wolf is devouring the sheep, right? And now they want to trap the hunter, the sheep, the wolf. So what they do, they take a double-edged sword, and then they paste blood on the double-edged sword, and they put it in an ice. So when the wolf smells blood, it goes there, it licks the blade. And slowly, when the ice melts, slowly the blade cuts the tongue, and it goes inside further deep. And the wolf in its mind thinks that now I'm nourishing myself, I'm eating, and I'm going to nourish my body, only to find that this wolf is dying. It is exactly what is happening between the voter and the ANC. The ANC has given us that double-edged sword. And we're thinking that these are the people that are going to give us the salvation. These are the people that we've entrusted to change the status quo. But in essence, the status quo is changing, and you can see the infrastructure is dilapidating. Yes. And the infrastructure is collapsing. Everything is collapsing in essence. So I think they've stayed and they've overstayed their term. Every liberation movement in Africa, the commentators would say, at least you give them 30 years. Over and above 30 years, they don't have a vision moving forward. So this is where we come in as fresh minds, fresh ideas. And I would like to also emphasize that the country has been waiting for new leadership, fresh ideas, new and young, not just new in terms of the entry to politics, but also young in age and thinking, futuristic ideas. Yet Jama-ah came in, it gave you exactly that, in the city of Johannesburg, the biggest metro, the biggest square mile of Africa, the economic square mile of Africa. And the mainstream media didn't focus on the achievements of the change, and our campaign in 2021 was leveling the playing field. So this is where we are. We no longer a smaller party. We are a new versus the old. And this is where I would say coalitions would work, because we are a living testimony and we are a living hope of the coalitions as a prototype that we've set for the nation. From the biggest square mile of Africa. That's where we're seeing that coalitions are working.
Of course, Jama-ah's launched its election manifesto a couple of months ago. I want to talk of the challenges in the country, at least not the electricity crisis. Of course, we are 1 month into no load shedding, whether or not that's an electrical ploy or whether or not 65% of the capacity has been met. That's, of course, for the viewers to decide. How does Jama-ah address the challenges in this country, especially the unemployment, which is sitting at quite a large number, 32.1%. Some say that it's probably even more exaggerated than that.
Okay. Look, we have in the country national government, we have the provincial government, the sphere of provincial government, we have local government. But we understand that independently or in silos as government, we can't do enough. Then we need stakeholder engagement to foster good governance, right? And we pride ourselves as Jama-ah on good governance, which is the first pillar of governing the city of Johannesburg from the mayoral priorities, right? So we want to invite all stakeholders of the society, or we have invited all stakeholders of the society, from the business sector, from the spheres of government, province and national, so NGOs, churches, and the likes, to partner and curb all the crises that we are faced with. But answering the issue of load shedding, the mayor, who happens to be the mayor of Jama-ah, has commissioned 3 power stations as an alternative energy. And I would like to shout out to him. He also mentioned it in his soccer today. So there's a station of solar energy in Alexandra Township.
Yes.
That was launched 2 months ago. We've launched another one in Mayfair, and we've launched another one in Flerof. The one in Flerof, it's diesel. It uses diesel. So in partnering with other stakeholders of the society, including the other sphere of government, which is the province, we were able to achieve what we aspire to see, the change, because we have to be the change that we aspire to see. So we're doing pretty well with the mayor. We've also achieved clean audit, better than the Western Cape, better than the ones we've just partnered with, the AfriForum, the city of Tshwane.
Yes.
So these are the things that we need to also indicate to the public, that gradually we are growing and gradually we are heading somewhere. And this power station doesn't only curb load shedding, it's also going to assist water outages in that region of Mayfair, where there's a lot of a disruption of
Yes,
water,
yes.
and people are stealing the power and the likes. So we are also going to, when there's water outage and because of electricity, this is one of the mechanisms that we are also going to intervene with using.
Can it work nationally? I've got 1.5 minutes. Can it work
Is it?
nationally, Thapelo?
It will work nationally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to be visionaries, and we just want the community to lobby behind us and give us support, not only on the ballot, but they also need to participate actively to become active citizens.
But you've got, of course, the battle between coal. You've got the battle between the green energy. So you've got fossil fuels versus green energy.
Yeah.
Where does Jama-ah stand on that? Is there a balance, or is one of the two have to give?
It doesn't have to give one of the two. We can just incorporate or merge the two worlds, right? In as much as the other one has to be reduced to a certain degree in terms of the carbon emission. But if you merge the two worlds, you are going to be progressive.
After the break,
Yeah.
after the break, I continue my conversation with Thapelo Amad. He is, of course, running for the Gauteng Premier. It is, if not the most hotly contested position provincially in South Africa over this upcoming elections. What does Thapelo Amad have to give for the province of Gauteng? Do stay tuned to Elections 2024. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to Elections 2024. My vote, my choice here on Hilaal TV. I'm in conversation with Thapelo Amad from Jama-ah. Thapelo, you're running for the Gauteng Premier. You're up against the likes of Dr. Mboyiseni Ndlozi from the EFF, Solem Simanga from the DA, the current Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, is in the mix for Isara Mukhopa, excuse me, from Rise Mzansi. There are so many others. What makes Thapelo Amad different from the names I've mentioned and so many others?
Look, first and foremost, we need to go out there and ask for the support from the community. But remember, that support is not only for us. It would be very strategic for the society to also understand that there has to be an independent vehicle that will represent an independent voice, precisely from the Muslim community in particular, right? In as much as we are a political platform for all communities, right? We aspire to get votes from everywhere or everyone. But however, so what will set us aside? We will focus on 4 things. Our manifesto is very long, right? But we've summarized from when it was delivered by the president, he summarized it to four pillars, which is the job, creation of jobs. We will create jobs. He spoke about safety. He spoke about the health sector, and to a certain degree spoke about the right to women and children and education, right? Maybe it's 5 to be quite precise. So how are we envisaging to create jobs, right? It's through the partnerships that we have. Government alone is not enough. Government alone is not sufficient. So we want to also invest, or rather invite the foreign direct investment, or the direct foreign investment, right? Remember, we are an economic hub as a province, and everyone has an appetite to participate in our province. So, and ironically, we are a province with a mining belt from the east of the province to the west of the province, and you'd know that there's Zamazamas. I think the mayor touched on it briefly.
Especially today, where I come from in Ikuruleni, there's quite a lot of them,
Yes, correct. So how are we going to create? We are not only going to create jobs from by saying we want the youth to come to the stadium, and then we'll give you 500,000 jobs, and creating a burden towards the government itself, right? So what our approach is to invite the stakeholders, private sector. We've done it. I've done it when I was in the office as well, right? That three months period, and I realized that there's an appetite from the private sector. It's just us politicians who are gatekeepers, and we would say all the mining sectors that are operating within Gauteng. Let us teach our kids artisan skills. You know, we teach them. And then where there is Zamazamas, we slowly push them away. You know, we enforce, we create bylaws to push the Zamazamas away. And these kids must go in and participate. From there, you would create SMMEs, you'd create co-ops, cooperatives, and you'd create a model such as we used to call it co-production.
Yes.
You co-produce with government. So you give them incentives, right? So that these kids can also go out and employ their peers in those communities, you understand? So you give them a decent and self-sufficient or a self-sufficient model where even when you're not there, they can still proceed, extract and then sell. And, they can sell and co-produce with the government. So you also look into the IT sector. We are going into the futuristic artificial intelligence. You'd want all the companies that are in that sector to come on board and teach. So you not only how do you make the model effective and agile enough, you also incorporate it into the curriculum. From the primary level of education until when you get to the varsity, you incorporate it as a curriculum so that you also empower these kids. If they do not make it to the matric, but at least you would have given them a skill that they can run with in the absence of the certificate.
Thapelo, I have to stop you there because I have to bring in the next question. Of course, you mentioned you were the city of Johannesburg mayor. It was a short period of time. Of course, through coalition politics, through our democracy, you got that motion of no confidence. That period of time that you were the mayor, is that enough to convince the residents of Gauteng that you could be their number one choice as premier?
Of course, yes, of course. Look, when I inherited the city, there was only 400 million, and the net worth is 83 billion, right? The first thing that I made sure, that I ensured, is to create an ecosystem that my successor, the current mayor, Thapelo Amad, who belongs to Jama-ah, when he came into an office, it was a plug and go, right? We didn't have a city manager. I appointed a city manager. That was my promise. I appointed the group CFO. I appointed the coup operation, chief operation officer of the city, the group coup, right? So you remember my predecessor, they couldn't even acquire loans and get grants from other supports because they didn't have this key element that would have driven the city. So when I exited at the time, we were able to acquire the money from other avenues. And then the SMMEs at the time, they were owed about 6 billion rands, SMMEs alone, right? Because they started purging not only officials, including SMMEs who worked. And when it was time for them to pay the SMMEs, they wanted to investigate whether this company is aligned to a certain political organization. But we fought that, and I can tell you now there's no SMME that is owed by the city today, and the vehicles were impounded. Service delivery was affected because people who are providing those services is SMMEs. Vehicles were impounded because they were never paid. You remember JMPD was never seen. There was no police visibility. Pick it up, the litter was not, the city was not clean. So today you find pick it up, picking litter, and then we've also created a program where we said it's revenue enhancement, where we went to the institutions that were owing the city. And that's when we also started collecting from those institutions. The biggest failure of our predecessor where they spent, but they didn't collect revenue, right? And we started slowly accumulating cash, generating revenue. And when my successor, Mayor Thapelo Amad, took office, the system was very agile for him. And you can see that he is sailing. This is his second State of the City address. So we are a trusted political organization, not me as an individual, but by virtue of other political organizations betting for our horse, it's an indication and a demonstration that we are the only trusted political organization. Chief Justice has endorsed, the former Chief Justice, where he says the country, South Africa, has two effects. The first effect was the Madiba effect, and the second effect was it is the Jama-ah effect, because we've even instilled confidence to not only academics, even the child on the grassroots out there who aspires to to become something in the near future. So we are a living testimony. We are alive with possibilities.
You're saying that, so of course you've got the nod from the former Chief Justice. Many polls are saying the ANC is going to dip below its 50% mark, which opens up the opportunities for coalitions. Is Jama-ah the real alternative for the residents of Gauteng? And given that obviously currently Jama-ah is in the coalitions with the different various parties within the Johannesburg City Council, can Jama-ah work with various other political parties on a legislative level, knowing that Gauteng is much larger and much bigger than the city of Johannesburg?
It's 56 million residents, citizens. And rest assured that we are contesting this election to take the levers of power so that we can transform the status quo of an ordinary person out there. Right? Worst case scenario, if the electorates do not give us an outright mandate, that's when we'll sit on the table and identify which political organizations have a progressive thinking, those who are aligned to the values of a liberation movement. The Democratic Alliance approached us to constitute government in the city of Johannesburg in 2021. But on the Middle East conflict, we then told them that, no, look, we're not going to work with you on the issues of principle, right? Because you are supporting the it was never interpreted as the genocide.
Well, now
it's definitely interpreted as the genocide. Yes. So it shows also that we are trusted because they approached us. They needed 3 seats before the Patriotic Alliance became their lab. Okay, I almost said something, but it was gonna be
well,
an insult
we've seen
to
that
animals.
obviously, they've aligned themselves with.
It was going to be an
pro-Israeli
insult
stance.
to animals. If I mention an animal, they are worse than an animal. Look, they approached us. Further, it didn't end with the Democratic Alliance. They sent the Action SA to approach us. It didn't even end there. They even sent the Patriotic Alliance, because the Patriotic Alliance at the time gave them 7 seats when they needed 3. They had access of 4, but they didn't trust them. They still pursued Jama-ah, and they still are going to pursue us, maybe, but on principle, they know where we stand. Yeah.
All right, you've got a minute. Of course, Jama-ah's, based its values based a lot of its values on Islam, but you've of course appealed to the non-Muslim voter base. Within a minute, what makes Jama-ah the party to vote for come the 2024 elections, provincially, electionally? Sell it to the viewers here on Hilaal TV.
Look, we take the mandate from our constituency, and that constituency is the electorates, right? That's the first thing. But we urge everyone to go out there, and every eligible voter must vote wisely. I can even further say, to be problematic, the ICJ case, for instance, I know there are parties that are using it, and it's a buying time tactic, I can tell you now. Right, because there has been motions. Our party leader has called for the country, for government, South African government, to arm the Palestinians. Right, if our government is serious, it can go that route. Or if our government is serious, because I can see that the ICJ is the one that is the tool that has been used today. Right, we are also calling for an Article 6 of the United Nations Charter, where the USA 3 times voted against the ceasefire. So we are saying, let us go and invoke it so that we can expel the United States and strip the Israeli naked. If government is serious, first they must close the embassy, and secondly, they must invoke the Article 6. So if we get that power, our justice, the way we view it, it is universal. Justice in South Africa it's important, and justice everywhere in the part of the world. So we are the trusted party. Vote for us.
Thapelo, unfortunately, I have to stop you there. Jazakallah so much for making the time for us. All the best ahead of your Gauteng Premiership candidate position. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That's Thapelo Amad, of course. He's the provincial chairperson for Jama-ah, and he is the party's Gauteng Premier candidate. That's all we have for you here on elections 2024. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. From myself, Faraz Patel, the rest of the team in Johannesburg. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.